But all red over there.
Sorry about that, obviously. So for the revised employee handbook, you know, that our handbook was, at least the last amendment, I think, was done back, what, 20 years?
2017.
2017.
Yep.
But it was a small amendment, but when we looked at it, and we're trying to update everything. There was a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that needed to be updated. In fact, we started with consulting our labor attorney about it, and he provided suggestions. And when we started to do that revision, it was so much work. We're like, let's just start over, basically. So we got a template from an attorney in Buffalo that specializes in labor law. He sent us a template and we went and started with that and then imported sections from the old employee handbook that weren't in that template that were more specific to the IDA.
As far as just general policies.
Yeah, general policies. So we put together this sort of, did everyone get this or no?
No.
Oh, okay, so, we're gonna tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we really looked at was the vacation policy. Basically, the staff could carry over an unlimited amount of vacation. And when they currently,
Yes.
and what would happen is when they ended their employment or retired or whatever, then we would have to pay that out. And we felt really strongly that it's important that everyone take their vacation. It's good to step away for a while and reboot. And we looked at the county's policy too. And so what we're proposing here is that they can carry over for a week, 40 hours. They can carry that over. And we'll pay them out up to 40 hours.
Yes.
And they need to use the rest or lose it.
Yep.
So that's basically the vacation.
Yeah.
policy.
And we really wanted it written in a way that employees aren't feeling guilty for taking the time off. We really want to stress that we care about the employees. We want them to
Yep.
rest. We want them to take time with their families and not feel like they have to show up every single day and can't use their time because it's a benefit, as a part
For a
of their
reason.
employment. Yeah.
For a reason.
Yep.
The other thing we did is the vacation policy. I can't remember if we had one in terms of accrual, an accrual schedule in the old one, but we revised that.
Yeah.
So that they get 2 weeks through, so when they start employment, they get 2 weeks vacation.
Nice.
Okay, up to 5, and then when they surpass 5 years, they get another week, so there will be 3 weeks. Then when they pass 15 years, they get 4 weeks. No, I'm
Nope.
sorry,
Yeah.
up to 15, after 10, they get 4 weeks. And then after 15 years, they get 5 weeks.
Yep. And previously it was as soon as you're hired, you get 3 weeks. So we could hire somebody off the street. They could be, a subpar employee and they have 3 weeks vacation. So if they come in for a week and then they quit, we have to pay them out 3 weeks. So we are also trying to mitigate that risk a little bit too. That's what we did by changing the accrual schedule.
So let me say it again more fluently. They start with 2 weeks. After 5 years, they get 3 weeks. After 10 years, they get 4 weeks. And after 15 years, they get 5 weeks. And then the way that works is, we already talked about, what they can carry over, et cetera. So now somebody's grandfathered in if they have more than that.
Yep.
And if somebody doesn't have that yet, we're giving them, and there's an example of both.
Yeah.
With our
Yep.
staff.
Yep. So we have somebody that's been here longer than 15 years who is getting another week because of this change.
Yep.
So, and I will also add that given the transition status of 2025, because we have some employees that have well over 80 hours of accrued time, and we're not going to take that away from them. So for 2025, we will roll over up to a week and everything else will be paid out. So nobody's losing anything. As far as the accruals go, everybody's grandfathered in at where they currently are. They'll increase once they hit the appropriate benchmark, given the new accrual calendar or schedule, which again is beneficial to a couple employees because they'll get another week sooner rather than later.
And those that had an extra week won't lose it. They
Yes.
just won't get another week until they
Until they
reach
hit
that benchmark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mark, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It says vacation time for the year will accrue in its entirety on January 1 of each year.
Yep.
What about someone who's hired like on June 30th?
Then I think it's in there, maybe
Okay.
further down.
Okay.
We prorate it, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because we did that with
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yep.
employee. Yep.
And then if somebody's anniversary is on September of whatever year, once they hit July 1st, then if somebody's anniversary is May of
Mhm.
whatever year, they'll get the next accrual bump in July.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if it's September, it'll be January 1st. So it'll be either July 1st or January 1st,
Mhm.
whatever one follows that.
Then with by the way, one of the reasons why, other than what we just said, people need to take vacation. This has all been on our books.
Yeah, so there's a big liability.
A liability.
Payroll liability.
Payroll liability.
Balance sheet.
That we're gonna take a hit, but now we're sort of taking care of it every year, other than that extra week.
Right.
So it's not a big liability on our books. Oh, sorry, I should have.
So that's okay.
Slow learners down here.
And then the sick day policy, again, there was an unlimited amount of sick days that somebody people could accumulate. Most didn't, but some did. So now we're capping that at 75 days as maximum accrual.
Mhm.
Once that limit is reached, they no longer accrue hours bi-weekly. Then if they go below it again, that 75 days, then they can build it back
Yep.
up to 75 days.
Okay, yeah,
Because basically, again, at the end of their employment, we would pay that out.
that's not paid.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
not paid out. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So it was never paid out, the sick time?
No.
No, sick time's not paid out.
And then, in terms of sort of policy to comply with state law, there was a number of things that weren't included, like prohibition of discrimination based on reproductive health decisions, break time for nursing employees and lactation accommodations, policy concerning sexual and other unlawful harassment, cell phone policy. I think that we did have that, but we updated it.
Yeah, yep. We updated it to match the current policy. No change in the current policy. It just didn't have, it was, the reimbursement for employees was by minute.
Yeah,
Something like that. It
instead of
was-
$50.
Yeah, it was dated. So we just updated it to what we're currently doing.
So then the New York paid sick and family leave benefits, which matches the New York State PSL and PFL regulations. I don't know what that stands for.
Paid sick leave, paid family.
Paid sick leave, paid family leave. Airborne infectious disease exposure prevention plan. Licensure and employment of persons previously convicted of one or more criminal offenses. And then all of our policies, all of the IDA policies. And there are more than a dozen.
Yeah, Yeah.
More than a dozen policies. We basically say in the handbook that the staff needs to read them and, get up to speed on those, and comply with those. Want to add anything else?
Nope. The only other thing that I forgot to add on the talking points was there's an actual form for like a harassment complaint included in the handbook.
Yeah. And at the end, there's an acknowledgement form that they've read everything and agree to comply and
Yep.
sign it, and then we get that.
And what we'll do is if this does get approved by the board today, we can send out another version. We have gone over kind of the high level changes, just because, this is a public meeting. We didn't want the staff to be surprised by anything, beforehand. So we went over it. So they do have a copy of it, but we'll kind of recirculate it and have everybody, take a week or so to read through it and get fresh signatures on the acknowledgement page.
And if there are any other maybe amendments we need to make, we can make them in the future.
Yeah.
True. Any other questions?
Are they all full-time employees or are there?
We do have some part-time employees. Yep.
Yep.
So they won't be impacted by the major changes, which is the time off, because they don't accrue the time off. So really it would just be all of the actual policies that are updated.
How many full-time employees?
Full-time employees, we have 11. And then we have 3 part-time, right? Does that sound? We have 14 in total.
Yep. So,
Do we have a recommendation to approve the employee handbook to the board?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll recommend that to the board. Next, we'll move into new business B. Present and review the 5-year EDA revolving loan fund plan and recommend approval by the CCIDA.
so when the IDA, was granted funding through the EDA for that $10 million to augment our existing loan fund, it required a plan. And then there's a 5-year update to that plan. So it is funny because the original plan was said, this is what we're going to do. And we had to change all of that. This is what we're doing.
Mhm.
Okay, and there wasn't a lot of substantive changes, more than sort of updating, and there was
Cleaning
the
up.
verbiage that they used. They called it LTAC, and it's the EDA CARES Act, and we call it the revolving loan fund. And so it really, and then, by the way, there's a copy of that in the back here. It's after the gray tab, I guess, number 6,
Where the blue sheet is.
where the blue sheet is after tab number 6. And so we went through and we updated this whole thing, cleaned it up, formatted it. And so we'll kick this over to the EDA. We'll see if they have any questions or comments. But
And we do have, sorry to interrupt.
No, no.
We do have quite a bit of time because the deadline, Rich Dixon says it's a soft deadline, as long as it's give or take around the 5 years, but the 5 years is up July 22nd, but that's the same day as our next board meeting. So that's why we wanted to get it in front of you. And of course, we don't want to waste everybody's time with 2 meetings and we can just knock all this out. So if there are any revisions or anything that comes back, we definitely have time to kind of incorporate that, but I don't foresee any issues because like Mark said, there really isn't a lot of updates, there's nothing that we really needed to change. There was really the big change was the update to the cash utilization. And all I did was update it to the current, which I can't even remember what page it was, but I just updated it to the current regulation, which changes every year. So they provide it by January 1st, just say, you have to utilize, you can only have about 15%, I think is what it is right now, 14.7% available in the bank.
And then, of course, also attaching the SEDS.
So, Yep.
Steve-O's SEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy.
Mhm.
They update that every year, so attaching that most current version.
Okay, did it.
Any questions?
So if the board approves this, it's still subject to EDA approval, correct?
I think EDA acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah.
So I suppose they could come back and say, hey, you gotta,
Right. And if so, then.
if so, we'll bring it back again.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a motion to recommend the EDA revolving loan fund plan to the board.
So moved.
We have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's been recommended. Next, we'll move into new business C, present and review amendments to the lead program and recommend approval by the CCIDA board.
Okay, let me see if I can jump on this first. So we had passed a resolution a couple of years ago that allowed the transaction committee to approve all projects that involve sales tax exemptions and mortgage recording tax exemptions where the total benefits don't exceed $100,000 by the transaction committee.
Sales tax only.
Sales tax only, sorry, sales tax only, where it doesn't exceed $100,000. Well, that's rubbed some of our auditors the wrong way. They feel like the board should have that ultimate approval and not a transaction committee, a subset of the board, even though we had a resolution allowing us to do that. So we think that it makes more sense to have it come to the board for final approval. And that there would be a subgroup of basically what was the transaction committee that would recommend it for approval to the board, and then the board would make that final. It was originally done to sort of save time, no due diligence resolution, like these bigger projects where somebody's presenting all that stuff. So
Right. The law requires a board resolution and public hearing if it's over $100,000. So there's no legal requirement for any further board approval. In fact, the board passed a resolution delegating its authority to this transactions committee. But the ABO in particular hates that.
Yeah.
They're legally wrong, but they hate it. So, and again, as Mark said, it was thought that if we didn't have to come to the board, we could do these small transactions very, very quickly. It turns out that we're doing one, maybe two a year. And that so far, the project managers have told us it's never been a problem that some applicant needs this sales tax letter, in a week. So they think that it's not going to be a problem to come back to the full board. It's a little more work for the board members because now you have to approve these, but it's another one or two a year. So it's not thought to be a problem. And quite honestly, if it is a problem, you can always change your mind and redo it somehow.
Okay, we have a motion to approve that change to the lead program. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that has been recommended. And then we'll move into new business D, discuss future revisions to the CCIDA bylaws by the end of 2025.
So we're not making any decisions now. We haven't even started with revising the bylaws, but those two are really outdated. And there are a number of things that we need to address in those to bring it up to date.
So the last revision on those was 2015, so we're at 10 years.
Yeah.
So by the end of the year, we'll get those updated.
So to the extent your board, if you want to go onto the websites and take a look at the bylaws,
Yep.
feel free to make any recommendations. But I think that staff is going to, start with looking at them and then, we'll come back and make a recommendation at some point.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote on that.
Nope.
Any old business to come before the committee? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned and we have a few minutes before the actual board meeting. Thank you.
Go ahead, Rosie. We're all set. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Before I get into, or before I pass on to Millen, to describe the resolutions that are being presented today, I will give the board an overview of the project again. So this is a reconstruction and expansion of Tri-County Holding Corporation's clubhouse due to a fire. This project will allow Tri-County to expand their previous floor plan, provide an updated kitchen, bar, and dining area with new modern amenities. I think it's important to note that the town and town supervisor is in support of the idea of offering a pilot. This project is requesting a 15-year pilot on the increased assessment, sales tax abatement, and mortgage tax. The pilot will reduce payments to the effective taxing jurisdiction over the life of the project in the amount of approximately $610,402. The total tax exemption of approximately $695,695, with sales tax abatement in the amount of $75,000. I'm not sure if Dan Jaska is on the line. If he is, he can provide any updates on the project. If he's not, I will then pass it on to Millen to do the deviation hearing, and then of course go over the resolution. He did mention he would have spotty service today, so it's possible he's not online.
Okay, notice of the deviation hearing was sent to all of the affected tax jurisdictions by certified mail on June 2nd. So they were all given notice of this hearing. No comments have been received in writing. So this is now the opportunity for any affected tax jurisdictions to give any comments, pro or con, on the proposed deviation from the UTEP. Hearing none, we will close the deviation hearing.
We'll go ahead and go right into number 2 there. Dan, Hetzenrader, can you move new business A2 for us?
Yes, I'll move resolution 06-24-25-01, tax deviation approval, Tri-County Holding Corporation, and 6-24-25-02, approving resolution, Tri-County Holding Corporation.
Before we vote, can I make a comment or two? The
Yes.
deviation is the one that we just talked about. The schedule is in the notice. For the purpose of the approving resolution, this is a type 2 under secret. As you will recall, often we have 3 resolutions. This time it's only 2 because this is a type 2. They are replacing what they had before. So under seeker, it's thought to be not a substantial impact on the environment. As Rosa mentioned, we held a public hearing on May 22nd, and the town has come out in favor. In the resolution, you will see, as required by the statute, a specific listing of the amounts of financial assistance that we are contemplating. As Rosie mentioned, we estimate the pilot to be $695,695, the sales tax to be $75,000, and the mortgage recording tax to be $10,625. So between the time that you passed your due diligence resolution and now, we have looked at the seeker aspect, held the public hearing, looked at the deviation, and looked at some of the other legal issues, and don't have any concerns that this would not go forward. Done.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? So we have a motion from Dan. Do we have a second? Thank you, John. And so we have a first and a second. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader?
Aye.
Amy Harding?
Aye.
Dan Demart?
Aye.
John Healy?
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney?
Aye.
Ted Whitman?
Aye.
And so the resolution has been unanimously approved. Before we move into new business B, I just want to mention that we had some people hack into our live stream during our governance. So we got everybody muted. We think we got it under control, but there may be a little cumbersome. That's why we've had a few technical issues. And if somebody does want to speak that's online and you're muted, just feel free to use the chat. And so we'll see your chat pop up. Otherwise, if we know you want to speak, we'll definitely unmute you. But we'll try to be open and let whatever we need to, but keep things under control as well. And appreciate Jeanette trying to react as on the fly to these things. Next, we'll move into new business B, Maple Vale Farms, presented by Rosie and Millen.
You again, we do have Keith Rogers here with us. He is the COO of Maple Vale Farms, Inc. Before I pass on to Keith, I'll give you a quick overview of the project. So Maple Vale Farms, Inc. has been in business since 1951 as a family-owned independent company. They currently run operations out of their Faulkner plant, but are looking to relocate to the town of Mina, Finley Lake, as they've outgrown their current facility. Maple Vale is looking to construct an approximately 150,000 square foot refrigerated food warehouse and distribution facility on approximately 194 acres located at 3196 Route 426, Finley Lake, New York. With the location adjacent to the I-86 and close to the I-90, this will allow Maple Vale to upgrade and expand its food distribution operations and provide critical access to its customer base, which extends east towards Rochester, west towards Cleveland, and south towards Erie and Pittsburgh. Total project cost is estimated at approximately $41.3 million. There is going to be estimated creation of 9 new jobs for professionals, 76 retained, 5 new for administrative, 44 retained, and 6 created for new, 60 retained for labor, and then for other 3 new and 25 retained. We are considering a 10-year pilot on the project for sales tax exemption, mortgage recording tax exemption, and property tax abatement. I again will pass it on to Keith. He can provide more details about the project.
Excellent. Thank you, Rosie. Great to see everyone. Joy to be here. And Maple Vale Farms, as many of you know, like myself, having grown up here, long storied history in rural Chautauqua County. First started in French Creek and then Clymer for the majority of the days. Where we are now in Faulkner was a result of many years ago during one of our famous Western New York winters, a snow load that exceeded the engineering of part of the warehouse, and there was a roof collapse. And so we moved to our Faulkner location. Providentially, Cisco had been there and had it evacuated, so it was sitting there waiting for us. So it's been our temporary home since that event. As such, we've been looking, we're a logistics company. We move boxes, basically they happen to contain food. And we service a 150-mile radius around here. So Western New York, Northeastern Ohio, and Northwestern Pennsylvania. And so we're basically looking to get back to our roots. There's a location in Finley Lake. We were actually, and prior to my arrival, I actually am 3 years now into Maple Vale Farms. The Neckers family, the 4th generation, by the way, and we have Bruce and Doug here as well to represent that. They had made plans, even purchase property in Pennsylvania just across the line. So since then, because of the fabulous work of the IDA, we're very grateful for, as well as Empire State Development, made it possible for us to actually stay here in Chautauqua County. So we acquired lands at this location, and are very excited to put together a plan with your assistance to continue to grow. The place in Faulkner where we are has been nice, but this positions us, first of all, more central to serve our customers, as well as room for growth. We've been growing consistently year over year, kind of outgrown where we are now. So it's looking ahead, and it's looking ahead beyond just the next 5 to 10 years. Maple Vale Farms is a 4th generation company. There's actually 5th generation working in the company right now. So this is a legacy build, looking to be able to keep families and jobs intact here in Chautauqua County. So we're excited, and thank you so much for all you guys do. We really appreciate it.
Is there any questions for Keith before I pass it on to Millen to go over the resolutions?
I just have one comment. We did talk to Anna Bowman, the town supervisor in the town of Elgin, and even, a couple of years ago when they were contemplating this project, and then I called her more recently, a couple of times and left long messages. She didn't get back to me, but she was all in favor of the project, of course. Not happy that they're gonna be vacating that facility. However, the fact that those jobs are gonna stay here in Chautauqua County and, you know, a lot of those workers, you know, they're gonna retain a lot of those, you know, I think almost all of them, or if not all of them, in this facility. So, she's well aware of it and, was on board with, the whole project. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And then, Colleen, Meter, no, Rebecca Brummagem, I'm sorry, Rebecca Brummagem. We've had, obviously, she's been involved since, really day one, involved in, you know, this project and is on board with, you know, the incentives that we're offering. So I wanted to make those two comments.
I do have one question. What was the total expected project expenditure?
We are still in the process of determining those numbers with the town.
I'm sorry, but you did give a number.
We do have numbers.
What was the number you
For
said?
the project overall?
Yeah.
41.3 is the estimate. We're still very much in the design phases right now. We've awarded a design and build contract, so we're in the process of, so the numbers are all being detailed. Part of that has already been expended in the acquisition of the land as well, so.
As far as sales tax, mortgage reporting tax, and property tax abatement, we have those numbers nearly calculated. We just have to have a conversation with the town supervisor.
I'd like to add that from a legal perspective, this is thought to be a relocation. And even though it's within Chautauqua County, as Mark mentioned, there will be a formal notice given to the jurisdiction that is losing the company. Although, as Mark says, won't come as any surprise, but from a legal perspective, we have to give notice just to, you know, to be fair to the jurisdiction that's losing it. In theory, they can come and object and, you know, or let you know their thoughts. If this resolution is approved, we will start the due diligence process. Part of what Rosie was saying is, you know, we would work out the amount and types of financial assistance. We're envisioning real estate tax, sales tax, and mortgage recording tax at this point. We would do the public hearing, we would look at SECRA, and then start going through some of the other corporate due diligence, just title, survey, it's insurance, just to make sure all that is buttoned up before we come back to you with a final resolution for final approval. So this is just due diligence step.
Very good. Any other questions from the board?
Just a comment. I mean, I know this is the due diligence resolution, but Mapleville, of course, is just a great local success story, and being a regional company, appreciate being able to keep it in Chautauqua County. And again, you know, as you said, that legacy built for the future, to kind of keep it here, keep it in the family is just great. So great project.
Yeah. Any other comments? Hearing none. Amy, can you move new business B1 for us?
Sure. 06-24-25-03 due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, Maplevale Farms, Inc.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Demart. John Healy. Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. And I'd also like to just thank you, you know, for keeping this in Chautauqua County. The board has done or not the board, but the whole crew at the IDA has been working on this for a long time. You know, we know you had other options, and so just very thankful to be able to keep you local. And, you know, it's just a great success, and we look forward to seeing how we might be able to help you in the future as you continue to grow. So thank you.
The love is mutual.
Next, we'll move into new business C, Lakeside Works LLC, presented by Kristen and Millen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jeanette, although Lee won't be speaking right away, if we could unmute Lee for when the time is that I call on him. Today we are presenting the due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement for the Lakeside Works LLC project, otherwise known as the Macaroni Building Project. a name you'll learn more about later in this presentation. This site is located at 23-25 Lakeshore Drive East in the city of Dunkirk. The Lakeside Works LLC project is sponsored by Gary Curson of Development Partners of Buffalo, who is the managing member and owns a majority of the company. Members of the project team joining us by Zoom today include Lee Curson, who is the manager, and we also have with us Vince DeJoy, the development director for the city of Dunkirk, and I'll call on you in a few minutes. Vince, thank you for joining us. Peak Development has become a familiar name in Chautauqua County this last year. CCIDA approved the 401 Central LLC project in the city of Dunkirk that is now nearly complete. The Lakeside Works project plan includes acquisition and renovation of the 15,060 square foot long vacant 4-story building in the city of Dunkirk. It's located downtown, directly across from the Clarion Hotel, and in the general vicinity of the Boardwalk Market and the city marina. Peak Development will redevelop the building as a mixed-use project, including commercial space and an 11-unit residential apartment building or short-term rentals. The application being presented is for real property tax, sales tax, and mortgage recording tax abatements, which would be determined through our due diligence process. The total cost of the project is estimated at $3.2 million. This project was included in the city of Dunkirk's Downtown Revitalization Initiative and received a $500,000 funding award, in addition to an Empire State Development $1 million Restore New York award. Now I'd like to invite Lee Curson to present your slides and project overview.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen now. I do have some slides to present.
We can see that you're starting your screen sharing. There it is.
Fantastic. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for having me this morning. We've had a fantastic relationship with both Chautauqua County and Dunkirk over the last couple of years. Excuse me. And we want to continue that partnership here at the Macaroni Building. So I'm going to share a couple slides with you. This one really just shows the relative proximity. If you can see my cursor, this is the Macaroni Building here, which is overlooking the marina and the pier, which is fantastic location that we're really excited about. So here is a rendering of what the building currently looks like and what we intend to repurpose it. I'll give you more of a description here in just a minute, but basically what you're seeing on the left-hand side is what we refer to as the annex building, which is a storage location. This will be our commercial space. And then in the tower portion of the building, these will be the residential units. To the right-hand side of the screen over here would be the lakeside facing portion of the building. So as was mentioned in the introduction, the property is located on Lakeshore Drive, adjacent to the waterfront, which is again fantastic, the Clarion, the Dunkirk Boardwalk Market, etc. We do intend to develop this property into 1- and 2-bedroom units, market rate units for both short and long-term rentals, very similar to the program that we're following through with right now at the Dunkirk Bank location at 401 Central. As was mentioned, that property is within approximately a month or so of completion. We've restored the exterior of the building and the vast majority of the interior, and we hope to be renting those units this summer. I do have some floor plans to show the approximate configuration of the units. So we have the elevator, and then we have a common hallway here, and then we have the individual units. Again, 1- and 2-bedroom units, and then the stairway. Pardon me, was there a question?
No, thank you. Go ahead, Lee.
So this is the lower level, and this pattern repeats through the building, but this shows the relationship of the units to the commercial space. Again, this is the annex in the back, which will be commercial space, parking in this area. And then these will be the residential units with access to the residential units through a newly constructed entranceway and elevator. Again, this repeats through. And again, on the third and fourth floors, repeating. So these units basically stack one right on top of each other. So that's a very quick overview of the project. Right now, the building is weather tight. It is secure, but it's basically vacant. It was used for storage for many years, and the building has been emptied. And so now it's just sitting vacant. The utilities are turned on. And we intend to start construction this fall and open the project for rental next summer. Are there any questions?
Curious, what do you envision for the commercial space?
So we plan to market it throughout the construction. We would be looking for any type of a retail operator that could use storefront. There's also been discussions, particularly with a physical therapy practice that could go in this space. So potentially medical, but we do not have a signed lease for the space as of yet.
Good question. Any other questions for Lee?
I just have one comment. You know, this is, you know, we've been talking about the need for housing for so long in this county. New when I say affordable, I don't mean in terms of getting affordable tax breaks, but in terms of decent, housing that is efficient, that's nice, and they're working on the bank building, and they're really doing a great job on that. And having this housing that's short and long-term down in the heart of Dunkirk and its waterfront is just a great thing. We're trying to attract more people to come live here to fill open jobs, and without housing, that makes it more difficult. So having this housing is important.
Thank you, Mark. I think that Vince may have some remarks as well. Vince?
Thank you, Christine. Yes, I'd like to thank the Industrial Development Agency and especially Peak Development for their investments that they're making here in the city of Dunkirk. This is a project that I've been working on since my very first day when I joined the city of Dunkirk. We had a Restore New York grant, but we didn't have a developer that had the wherewithal and experience to pull this project through. I just want to say that Mayor Kate Dobiaz and the city of Dunkirk are very supportive of this project and extending the incentives through the IDA. As was mentioned, we have $1 million Restore New York, fought very hard for a $500,000 DRI, and this project fits and aligns perfectly with our strategy, our downtown revitalization strategy, and our waterfront strategy that we're working collaboratively with the IDA and Chautauqua County Department of Planning to implement. This will help, I believe, attract additional collateral investment on Lakeshore Drive. We are working very hard with the Clarion to put together a redevelopment project there, as we're also, the city of Dunkirk is trying to redevelop the parcel that's vacant across the street from this Dunkirk Macaroni project. So creating density with some market rate apartments is a fantastic project, and we appreciate your consideration for extending the incentives that will be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Very well presented. Any other questions?
May I offer one more comment, which is that if it turns the PT practice that may come to the building, as I understand is currently in Fredonia, if that is going to be part of the project, we're going to do the same thing we did for the last resolution, give a notice to Fredonia that this project may involve the relocation of a facility. Again, not a big employer and not going very far, but the law says we have to give that notice. And again, this is a due diligence resolution only. If approved, staff and I would go through and look at environmental for SECRA, hold a public hearing, work out the financial assistance and any legal issues that may come up before we come back to the board for a final approval.
Thank you. Dan DeMart, can you move new business C1 for us?
Sure. Move to approve resolution 06-24-25-04, due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, Lakeside Works LLC.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead and do roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader? Aye. Amy Harding?
Aye.
Dan DeMart?
Aye.
John Healy? Kevin Muldowney?
Aye.
Ed Whitman?
Aye.
And so the resolution is unanimously approved.
Lee?
Thanks, Lee.
If I could just say, thank you very much. The CCIDA, Mark Geis, Christine Morbito, Jeanette, you folks have been fantastic to work with, not just on this project, but the previous ones. And Vince DeJoy and the city of Dunkirk, I want to extend that same appreciation to you and your team, because I think the partnership has been very strong and look forward to continuing it into the future. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lee.
you. Next, we'll move into new business D, CCIDA lead program presented by Mark and Millen.
So the lead program, the IDA board approved a resolution a few years ago that would allow the transaction committee to approve projects where the sales tax exemption, sales and use tax exemption only don't exceed $100,000. It didn't require it to go to the board for full approval. The transaction committee could do that on its own. And it was sort of a way of being able to move quickly, and then also not having to have the board review another project. And that was all approved, and our auditors, especially the ABO, had a problem with, there was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't against the law or anything like that, but they flagged it and they didn't like it, and we pushed back. But so we talked about it internally, and we are thinking that we don't need to do that. The transaction committee can review it and recommend its approval to the full board, and then it will come to the full board for approval. That's in a nutshell. You can put a finer point on it.
No, the law says that if the financial assistance is over $100,000, you need a board resolution and a public hearing. This program was designed to not do that, to be very, very quick. And sort of informal, getting this done very quickly. Turns out that this has only been used once or twice per year, and the business managers feel that the timing is such that in every instance, there would have been time to come to the board. So while not legally required, and in fact, the board approved the prior structure, the thought is, let's at least try it this way of bringing each of these to the board. So the staff and I will review it. What was the transactions committee will review for the legal issues, et cetera, and then bring it to the board for approval. If it turns out to be too cumbersome, or you don't like this methodology, we can talk about it and change it again. But the change that's being proposed today, and the governing committee met it earlier today and made the recommendation that the full board make this change, would only, the only change is that each of these applications would come to the board for.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? John, can you move new business D1 for us?
Resolution 06-24-25-05, lead program, and with the resolution.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader? Aye. Amy Harding?
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Ted Whitman.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business E, CCIDA CREDC CRC handbook, employee handbook, presented by Mark and Shelby.
So our employee handbook, has not been updated in quite some time, and when we really looked at it, we internally agreed that it really needed to be basically overhauled. So we spent a fair amount of time, going through it. We actually started with a whole new template. We revised a number of things. I guess the big things are on like the vacation policy in the past, and still until you approve this, they could accumulate, employees could accumulate their vacation without limits. And then, when they either hired or got a different job or whatever, the IDA would be required to pay that out. Okay, so we're changing that policy so that they can accumulate up to 40 hours and carry it over to the next year. And we can pay out up to 40 hours as well. Whatever else they don't use, they lose it. And we think it's really important that the employees don't feel guilty about it and that they deserve to take vacation. We think it's good for them to use that vacation versus accumulating it and then getting paid out for it. So each year we'll pay out up to 40 hours, carry over up to 40 hours, and then they would lose less if they don't use it.
Interrupt. The employee handbook is in the back of your
Oh,
binder.
yeah.
I just put it in the.
Thank you.
So,
Yep. And then the other thing is, I guess the other big thing is that the old policy, Shelby, remind me, the old policy was structured different in terms of accruing vacations. I'll let you do that one.
Yes, so on day one, after an employee is hired, they historically had 3 weeks. We've changed that to be 2 weeks through 5 years. After their 5-year anniversary, they get another week, so they're at 6 weeks. After their 10-year anniversary, they get another week, so it's 4 weeks. And then after 15 years, they have 5 weeks of vacation. Historically, I think it was 3 weeks and then 4 weeks after 10 years, if I remember correctly. So now it's a little bit, better for the longer tenured employees that can get an extra week after 15 years.
And so it grandfathers in anybody that, and there's one employee at least that had more than, has 3 weeks, even though they haven't worked here 10 years, but they're grandfathered in.
Yep.
So then when they hit that 10-year mark, they won't get another week. They won't get another week until the 15-year mark.
Yeah, until they hit like the 4,
Right.
what the new policy says for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever.
And then there was also a staff that had been here for more than 15 years.
Mhm.
That only was getting 3 weeks vacation.
Yep.
I believe, and so they
So
will
it's adjusted.
now
Will be
we'll
adjusted.
adjust it to get the extra 2 weeks. 1 week. Oh, yeah, it's actually 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1.5.
Yep.
So, they're sort of grandfathered in, but anybody that we hire new will follow this schedule.
Given the transition status of 2025, just so that employees that have a lot of vacation accumulated, we're gonna pay out the remainder. So we'll roll over 1 week and then anything left will be paid out. So they're not gonna lose all of that. And then starting next year, we'll only pay out up to a week.
Yeah. It was a liability on our books financially, so right now we take care of it every year. And then with the sick day policy, staff were allowed to accumulate that unlimited.
Mhm.
Now, they don't get paid out for that or anything, but nonetheless, we felt like we should put a limit on that, so that they don't have, 500 days when they retire, that they could take off that last year and a half, right? as an example, right? So now they can max out at 75 days is the maximum accrual. And so they can always have 75 hours of sick days, accrued. But if they go above and beyond that, it doesn't accrue. Follow me? And then there was a number of policies, and I won't go into great detail here, but a number of sort of required policies that we didn't have, things like prohibition of discrimination based on reproductive health decisions and time for nursing and lactation accommodations, sexual and other unlawful harassment, those types of things. So we got all that in there. And then our cell phone policy, we were paying out for something like per minute use, and now it's just a base rate of $50 a month that we reimburse.
No change to that policy. It's what we've been doing, but we just are
Right.
updating the handbook to
Yeah.
match the current policy.
Exactly. And then New York paid sick and family leave benefits, airborne infectious disease exposure prevention plan is all new. Licensure and employment of persons previously convicted of one or more criminal offenses. We included that. And then also all of the CCIDA policies, and there's over a dozen. So the employee handbook requires that new employees read through all of that, ask questions if they need to, and then sign off that they read and agree to all the policies. So it really is pretty comprehensive now. We took it to the governance committee before this meeting, and they recommended approval by the board of the new employee handbook.
Any questions from the board? Can I have a motion to approve the handbook? Kevin, do we have a second? Thank you. Go ahead. Well, I think we can just say, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the new handbook has been approved. Next, we'll move into new business F, the 5-year EDA revolving loan fund plan update.
So if you recall, some of you were here, some of you weren't. We were awarded a $10 million EDA grant. I think it was in 2021 to augment our lending ability. And we created a revolving loan fund that was very similar to the LTAC, but it had different sort of criteria. And we had to write a plan before we received that money of how we were gonna, use the money and the things that we were gonna comply with. And the EDA requires that those plans be updated every 5 years. So we updated the plan that we had submitted 4 years ago. And the due date is at the end of July, I believe.
Yeah.
So we went through that entire thing. There's really nothing substantive that really changed, but there was a lot of sort of reformatting and making it present tense and grammatical stuff and cleaning it up. So we took this to the governance committee as well. They recommended for the board to approve it. And that's it.
And I'll just add that there's really no change as far as, where our limitations are with lending that, any different industries or anything like that. Nothing's substantial changed. And it's all tied to current EDA regulations with that fund anyways. So there really isn't big changes, but it's just brought to current.
And then we attached the CEDS, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy from CCIDA. This latest plan that they have, we attached that to it as well.
That's also located in your book, right after the blue sheet, after the resolutions.
Just said that.
Any questions from the board? Do we have a motion to approve?
Take that.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It has been approved. I inadvertently skipped over to start, but like to welcome PJ Wendell here with us this week. Is there anything that you wanted to share with us?
Pleased to see all the progress.
Thank you, and we appreciate the support. Next, we'll move into the executive directors meeting.
Yeah, I really have just one thing that I could think of to report, and that's on Thursday. The White Inn is having an official ribbon cutting. And prior to that is Empire State Development is doing a workshop. So in the afternoon, I believe, what time's that workshop? What, 12:30? 12:30 starts at 12:30, and then the ribbon cutting is at 4. And so really excited about that. And be a lot of people there, a lot of contractors, a lot of state people there. We did it purposely on that same day so that the ESD folks could be there and see the fruits of their labor. So we're excited about that. I really don't have anything else right now.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have the treasurer's report.
I will also be quick. There really isn't a lot that has changed since that last month as far as the financials. I would say primarily we had I think we had a couple of solar closings happen in May. So our excess of revenue over expense for the IDA in total is $404,000. I'll skip right over to the balance sheet. We're sitting pretty healthy as far as cash, but again, when you look at the cash number, you have to offset it with the deferred revenue because that's basically expenses that have already been, pledged. So that's good. No real problems there. And then when you look at the variance over budget, I would say that's primarily timing. You will see that our payroll and benefits are over budget, and that's kind of a couple different things, primarily timing, because we just essentially peanut butter spread the full year by month for the for the salary when we had some expenses were more heavy for the first part of the year, and then it'll taper off towards the end of the year. So that'll catch up. Another piece of that is we allocate monthly salaries based on actual employee time. So there's a little bit of a mix between like the IDA and the CREDC payroll as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio, the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will now go into executive session.
I am happy to offer everyone, possibly for signature if you're very good, your very own baseball card, hopefully to be signed by Greg himself. So if you want to take one.
Thank you. Since we're talking baseball, may I segue from Chautauqua County moment, 2 of them. One is thanks to the Chamber of Commerce. We had a wonderful night. Some of you will be getting your baseball cards very soon. And Dan, I sent you kind of a overview of some of the cards that came in. But anyways, July 13th, Mr. County Executive, there's going to be a Howard Emke Day at the ballpark. And this may be a moment where we can honor Silver Creek's Howard Emke. Several things are happening, actually. One is the Emke family, like about 80 of them are showing up. 2, all the county officials in that area are being invited. 3, the actual company itself that was started to make the tarpaulins, which was made by Silver Creek's own Howard Emke. The company is in Philadelphia. They're coming with 4 representatives to do that. And interestingly enough, we got a call from the Oakland Athletics where he played with the Philadelphia Athletics, and they're sending some people here too, all on July 13th, which is a Sunday, which is a freebie, free tickets all over Silver Creek at this point. And not suggesting anything to the county executive, but Howard Empty Day would be a terrific proclamation, but I thought.
I'm on it and I'm speaking,
Mhm.
as you're speaking.
And Jason.
I'd be remiss, and I usually don't speak out at board meetings, but we do have our community buyout night for Live CHQ on July 17th, saluting first responders as well as healthcare providers across Chautauqua County. That also is free admission. So 2 opportunities to see some great baseball on July 13th and July 17th. We hope to see you there.
And where's that at again?
Park, Russell A. Dietrich Park, Faulkner Street, Jamestown, New York.
What's the name of the team again?
Jamestown Tarps.
There we go. Jason is really, he's a really good hire, Mark.
I know.
Give you your $20 after the meeting.
That was your mistake, Melon. Never open the door.
We are back in open session. I would like to report that there were no actions or votes taken during executive session and therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. Is there any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned, and the next CCIDA board meeting will be July 22nd at 10:30 a.m., again here at the BWB building. We'll move right into the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting. We're still at the BWB building, 201 West Third Street, and we're streaming live via YouTube and Zoom. It's June the 24th at 11:50. Go ahead and do roll call. Gary Henry's here. Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Amy Harding.
Here.
Dan DeMart. John Healy.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
And did Ted leave? Yes,
Yes.
so Ted had to leave. You should have already received the March 25th, 2025 minutes and had a chance to view those. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Kevin. And a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. We'll move into new business A, CREDC resolution accepting grant funds presented by Nate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're pleased to present a resolution to you all today to accept 10 individual grants that we've received in the last month or two for 2 separate CPEG programs. The first, we received 6 grants for the 5th phase of the Overland Trail restoration project, Eastside Overland Trail. So those 6 total $115,000. So that phase of work is fully funded. Unfortunately, will not likely start until next year due to the state's wetland regulations and hoops we are forced to jump through. I also did want to comment that with the exception of these awards, we surpassed $1 million of funding in trail maintenance in the last 5 years through CREDC in the county. So I can't take much credit. Jacob Bodway, our trail coordinator, is prioritizing and chasing all these funding sources, doing a great job for us. And we appreciate the county executive support of county funds to support our trail and outdoor recreation assets as well. The next 4 grants total $40,500 for our Paint CHQ program that Rebecca Worcester is leading. And there'll be 4 murals installed this September, 4 communities as a pilot project, Dunkirk, Faulkner, Sherman, and Westfields. And we hope to replicate this in future funds based on funding availability. So those 2 projects are fully funded. And like I said, the Paint CHQ will happen this year, and that 5th phase of the Overland Trail upgrades likely starting early next spring.
What the murals will be?
The artwork, there's local committees in each of the 4 communities that have selected nationally and world-renowned artists. And those artworks will be presented publicly in the near future. And in addition to Rebecca and Jacob, just want to thank our local and regional foundation partners. Couldn't have done this without them, and we're appreciative to all the individual funders. Any questions?
Kevin, can you move new business A for us?
Sure.
Resolution 6-24-25-06, resolution of members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation accepting various grants.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Dan. Do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
John Healy. Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
So the resolution is unanimously approved and excellent job as always. It's just phenomenal. All the work that you and your team do and bringing, money in to make our county better.
Thank you. Have a great team.
Do we have an executive director's report?
I just wanted to say one thing. If you haven't seen the mural on the building, as you walk out the back door here, look left.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Roger Tory Peterson, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, I didn't even know about it the other, last week or 2 weeks ago. I looked over, I'm like, it was almost done. Got the lift up. Anyway, more to come, kind of thing. That's all.
Great. Do we have a treasurer's report?
So I'll start with the statement of revenue and expense. For the credit, I just want to note that there's of a timing issue. We haven't received all the grant funding budgeted yet, so that'll even itself out. Hence the loss of revenue over expense. And the two negatives in the expense column were prior years adjustments that needed to be made. But I couldn't go back because the audit was already done, so they're adjusted in the current year, but will run through retained earnings by the end of the year. And for CREDC, for the CPEG column, there is a timing issue as well. We're just waiting on some grant funding. Some of our funding is we spend it and then we get reimbursed. So for that negative. And skipping over to the balance sheet, we have a pretty good cash flow situation. Quite a bit in deferred revenue still. Earmarked to be used up. And then we'll take a look at the Shelby had mentioned, I think you can kind of tell the difference in payroll on the CCIDA side versus the payroll benefits on the CREDC side. The adjustments are kind of run through my end. So hers might be a negative, but mine's over, so. And then there's professional fees that were a little bit over budget, but we haven't met our total budget yet as far as professional fees go of the 149. So we're still in good standings as far as that goes. And a lot of times we're heavy on the expenditures earlier in the year and then it'll taper off towards the end. So that's what I've got for you. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The report has been accepted. Any old business to come before? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Any approved?